Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm John Chandler, and welcome to Audio Vice. On this episode, I'm going to talk about the audio mixer and how it pertains to many aspects of pro audio. But before we get started, a shout out to our sponsor, Tapscott Media Services. Today, I'm going to discuss the audio mixer, specifically answering, what is an audio mixer? What is it used for? And finally, what processing to the audio does it perform? For most cases, the audio mixer is used in two environments. It can be used in a very controlled environment, like a recording studio or broadcast studio. This type of environment is commonly referred to as a production studio environment. The other environment is a less controlled environment, and the mixer is used in real time, such as live concerts or a live broadcast and streaming event where a live audience is either present or listening or both. At its core, the function of all mixers are the same. They are a single hardware device that accepts multiple audio signals, processes each signal, and routes them to multiple destinations. The core sections of all audio mixers are the same as well. There's the input gain section, the equalization section, the routing section, the panning section, the fader section, and finally the output section. Each of these sections performs a specific processing to the audio signal. The input gain section. It adjusts the amount of input audio signal to the mixer. The equalization section. It adjusts the tonality of the audio signal. The routing section. It directs the audio signal to various destinations within the mixer. The panning section. It processes the audio signal by placing it between the left and right stereo fields. The fader section. It processes the monitoring or listening volume of the audio signal. Finally, the output section of the audio mixer is where all the external destination hardware is connected to the mixer, such as speakers, reference monitors, and external effects processors. Now let's see an audio mixer in use. All right, so here is an audio mixer that is currently in use. It's a basic analog mixer, and all the sections on it are visible. This right here is the input section. And as you can see, I have various sources plugged into each of these channels. Now remember, once you learn the sections of one channel, no matter how many channels are on the mixer, once you learn one, you know the entire input section of the mixer. So you can have a 2-channel mixer all the way up to, I don't know, a 64-channel mixer. If you understand the input sections of the mixer and you apply it to every channel of the input section further down the line, you'll be good as gold. So on the input section, we have a microphone input, which is called an XLR, and we have a line input, which is called a 1/4-inch jack. This particular mixer has an insert, meaning I can take the signal directly out and process it and bring it back. Then you have the gain. This is the gain bus right here. And remember, the gain bus adjusts the level of signal coming into the board. So this is what you want to adjust to make sure you have a good enough signal to process for everything that happens after the gain. So after the gain, we have the EQ section. On this particular EQ, you have your highs, your mids, and your low. And here, your mid frequency can actually not only just amplify, but you can choose the frequency you want to amplify of the EQ section. We'll get into that in another video. This is the routing section right here. This turquoise and purple is the routing section. Routing section meaning it is going to take the signal and it's going to route it somewhere else within the board. In this case, this routes it outside of the board and to what they call a send channel. Okay. It's basically a send channel. SEND. This is also a send channel, but it also doubles as the internal effects processor or the internal effects bus. It routes the signal from this input channel over to the effects section. This particular board has a lexicon effects processor on it with various things like delays and reverbs and all that fun stuff. So if you want, you can send this signal once it comes in out of the board using this section right here. Okay. This is an example where you would send stuff out to, let's say, monitors on a stage so that artists can hear what they're doing. Or if you wanted to send the feed out to, I don't know, maybe a speaker in another room as a reference. But that's what this is for. This particular is called an auxiliary send. This is an auxiliary send as well. And as you can see, it says effects out right here. Or if you don't have anything plugged into here, this actually sends it to this lexicon effects box or internal processor. So this mixer is very nice in that I'm able to send source to come into the board, get enough gain signal into the channel, process it with EQ. I can send it out of the board and I can add reverb to it. This right here is the panning section. Fair enough, left or right. Okay. Then the signal comes down here, and this is the fader section. This is basically the output of this channel. The output of this channel, after everything's processed, the output of this channel comes from here, goes out and goes to the master output, meaning the stereo outputs, XLRs, quarter inches, or a headphone output. Okay, so once again, take your XLR input, a low impedance or a high impedance or a line input, comes into the gain section. This determines to make sure you have enough audio signal so that the board can process. This is the first processing in the EQ section. Then you have an auxiliary send where you're actually routing the signal prior to its output. You're routing it, in this case, to this jack right here, and you can send that wherever you want for your particular setup. You can also send it here to this output, or if you don't have anything plugged into it, for this particular mixer, it has an internal effects processor. This is an effects bus as long as I don't have anything plugged into that jack. Then it comes down to the pan, left field or the right field. Then it comes down. This is the output volume, and it sends the signal out to the master left and right bus. And that left and right is either here, XLR, quarter inch, or line output, mic level output, or headphone output. So that's basically it in a nutshell. So you might wonder, well, what are these two faders, John? Well, these two faders, they're the same channels as this, but in this board, sometimes you might have a stereo source, meaning like a keyboard or a CD player that has a left and right channel. Well, just as you see here, I've got my TV hooked up, my left and right, stereo output of the DVD player, the PlayStation 2. Yes, a PlayStation 2. A laser disc. Yes, a laser disc. But the point is, if I want a stereo to process a left and right channel, I've got to take up two channels on this board. But what this board also has is that if I don't want to take up two channels of a stereo source, I can use one of these. And this is a stereo. STE is a stereo 1 and a stereo 2. So this particular channel has, look, a left and a right. So I would take the left and right jacks out of whatever source, plug them into here, still have a gain stage, still have EQ, but this EQ is just literally a predetermined high frequency, a predetermined mid frequency, a predetermined low frequency. So you're just boosting or amplifying, or you're cutting or lowering the predetermined frequency of that potentiometer, of that knob. So you still have the gain source, you still have the EQ source, you still have routing. Same thing goes. This is the aux route. That aux comes out of here, and you still have this routing. And in this case, I'm sending it to effects, and you have the panning, left or right, or in this case, want it in the center. And the nice thing about it is that I only have to use one fader to process 2 channels of data, or of voltage in this case, because it's analog. So I can take the left and right of a source, put it in here. It keeps it stereo, but I only have to use one fader. Over here, I have to use 2 faders because all of my sources are stereo, because I'm using this for my home stereo, basically my entertainment center, my TV, my DVD, PlayStation, Laserdisc, a record player, and my Macintosh. So everything has a stereo. All of these are stereo sources. So I have to have a left, right, so on. So I've panned these left, right, and so on. Okay. Now, if I had another source, another item that I needed to plug into the mixer that was left and right, I still had 2 more channels. And those 2 channels can accept both left and right into one channel. But still, the sections are the same. Input, gain, processing, EQ, routing, pan, and then output volume right here, which goes here to your master bus, stereo left and right. Okay. And this purple fader right here is just what it says. This is the effects. So if I have my TV and for some reason, if I wanted to put reverb on it to make it, let's say I'm watching a ball game, I want it to sound like I'm in a stadium or an arena, I pump that up, select the effect right here. Then if I want to hear the output of that effect, I can bring that up here, and that adjusts how much affected reverb or how much effects comes back into the mix. I typically just keep everything at 0. So all I do is bring it up here. It goes to the effects processor. And it comes out right here. And if it's too much, instead of bringing this down, because if I bring this down, it affects everything that I'm sending to that effects processor. So if I bring this down because the TV has too much reverb, guess what? The DVD player and the PlayStation are going to suffer as well. So I don't do that. I keep that at 0, and I go over here and I do my mix here. If I want the TV to have more reverb and I want the DVD player to have less reverb, I turn it down here. Okay. But yeah, that right there is a mixer in use, an analog mixer. There are all types of mixers, analog and digital, but we'll cover those in later videos. So now you know what an audio mixer is, what it's used for, and what type of processing it performs. You even know the various types of environments in which it's used. In the next video, I'm going to discuss the different types of audio mixers and the advantages and disadvantages of each. If you have a topic you'd like me to cover, or if you have any questions you'd like me to answer, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Remember to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can continue to join me in our journey in the world of pro audio. Remember, pro audio mastery is not a talent. It's a well-rehearsed skill. All right, I'm John Chandler. See you in the next video.
Yeah.